So today we're actually going to be pulling together the best of the best in resources, lessons, pedagogical ideas, training, and more to make the ultimate blended learning mixtape. I'm Jenny Mila, coming to you from Phoenix, Arizona, nice and sunny, and I'm an instructional development manager here at SMART. So today our session, all about that game, No Trouble, features Jason Smith, and he's a SMART manager of training and services from New Jersey. And we've got the fun and everything you need to engage students at all levels with game-based learning. And you're going to build a game in your class in less than 5 minutes or less. No trouble. So before we have Jason take over, let's run through a few housekeeping items. So depending on the device you're using to attend this webinar, you'll notice either at the top or the bottom of your screen, you're going to have a menu bar with a few options for interacting with today's presentation. During the presentation, I'll be placing links and any additional information in the chat box. If you have any questions as we go along, please type them in the chat box and I will either throw them in the flow or at the end of our Q&A portion. Also, if you attend a total of 3 sessions today, you're going to earn a blended learning rockstar badge. So after the session, you'll be receiving an email with surveys for the sessions you attended. 3 will link to your badge. So now that I've gone over everything, I'm going to turn it over to Jason so we can dive into the session all about that game, No Trouble.
Nice. Morning, everybody. Hopefully everyone's having a great day. Wanted to kick things off and give you a little bit of information about myself. So my name is Jason Smith. I'm the manager of Education Training Services. Former 8th grade mathematics teacher in Passaic, New Jersey. I saw some New Jerseyans in there. Woo woo! However, I am from Ohio, so I won't lie. I'm kind of both, both places. Also was deputy director of data assessment at Tech in Newark, New Jersey. So both school districts, but always in education all the time. Love technology. And super stoked about being with you guys today, trying to keep in those 80 words. Stoked, right? All right. So what we're going to do today, right? We've got about an hour left, a little over an hour for ourselves to be together here. So we want to explore how we can easily add game-based learning inside of any of our lessons using Smart Learning Suite Online. So what do I mean by that? Essentially what I'm saying is taking all the existing content that you currently have and then spicing it up with the games, right? It's an easy way to engage students, but it's also an easy way to, when we're talking about Bloom's taxonomy, it's an easy way to climb that ladder using these games to engage the students in the next task, if that makes sense. So just for you guys, just so you know exactly what this is going to look like, this next walkthrough. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you guys through what it looks like from the student's perspective. That's some horrible handwriting. I taught math. I know. But the first thing we're going to do is we are definitely going to take a look at what does this look like from a student view. So if you've already signed into my class, awesome. If you haven't, don't worry about it. I'm going to split my screen in 2. So on the right-hand side, you'll be able to see the student view. And then on the left-hand side, you'll also be able to see the teacher view. After we do that, right, we're going to go through a bunch of the different games so that you can see what we have access to, how it acts in terms of on a student screen, how it acts on the teacher screen. I'm going to walk you through the teacher workflow. So how do we create this, right? What do we need to do in order to create this? So I'm going to walk you through what is the teacher workflow so that you can see, okay, hey, I can take all of my existing, or I can just create these games and pass the games out to the students, right? And then finally, when we're done with that, we're going to create. We're actually going to take, I don't know how much ever time we have, give you guys the opportunity to play around, right? Let you explore, let you push buttons, because that's when you really get value. So this session is awesome and great in the sense that I do have the time because we're focusing on one small thing. I've got the time to allow you to actually create. So we're going to do that. And then we'll tidy things up at the very end with a nice bow and we'll do a little bit of Q&A. So hopefully that's going to be good for everybody. If you have any questions as we're going along, drop them in the chat. We've got Jenny and a couple other people in the chat. In the event that it's something where they feel like, hey, we need to interrupt Jason because this is good, right? We want everybody to see this. We'll take that time, they'll interrupt me, and I'll make sure that I talk a little bit more, elaborate, or I walk you through an additional step, whatever it may be, so that when you walk out of here, you feel like it was all about the game, no troubles. And yes, that's the end of my singing career. I'm sorry, I'm done. Okay? All right. So what I'm going to do is if you're in, you'll see on the student screen, right here, I have the teacher screen up right now. So let me bring up the student screen. Put my teacher screen right next to it. So on the left-hand side here, you'll see this is the teacher screen. It's the screen that I actually wrote the ink in. And if I wanted to erase it, you'll see as I erase it on the teacher screen, it's also being erased on the student screen, right? So right now, what I'm doing, think of when you're delivering a lesson, there's those times where you have an objective, you have an anchor chart, or you just have information that you need to deliver to the students, right? But you don't necessarily want them to interact with this page. So this is one of those static pages. I've set that up so that you guys can see this page. I can mark it up, I can add things to it, I can do whatever I'd like to it. But you as a student on the right, you're just gonna see this page. This is kind of an informational or resource page for you, like if we were going through a lesson. As I page ahead, you page ahead. So here's our icebreaker. It's all about that game. So why don't you click start if you're in my class? I see there are 61 people in my class right now. So why don't you click start? I'll click start on the student side as well. I can click start on the teacher side too. And as soon as I do that, you hear my music. So you'll see on the right or the left, whether I'm the student or the teacher, as I'm dragging and dropping, so I've got the movie Elf, right, from the 80s, and what's that comparable to today? Well, if I drag iTunes, you'll see, I didn't get it right? It gives me instant feedback. So this is one of those opportunities. You could use this as your do now, or like, how am I getting my kids to start thinking about today's lesson? This could be a resource inside of a lesson, but you'll see when you get the right one. So if I do the TV, they're right, play some music, lets me know that, hey, I got that correct answer. You can set this up so that it gets instant feedback like I have it right now, or you could actually set it up so that it gives feedback to the students at the very end, checks their answers when they're all done. So hopefully you guys on your side, and the student side, right, you're dragging and dropping. So Terminator from the 80s, very similar to the Matrix, not 80s. If I come over here, what do we got here? We got a Walkman and iTunes, completely different things, right? It's the iPad now versus the Walkman. I don't know about you guys, but remember the yellow Walkman? It was like so hip, so cool. So on this page, this is called a match 'em up, right? So we're matching things up. You could use this in a multitude of ways. If like you're thinking about, hey, I've got my students in here, I could be using this in ELA. Right now, we've got some images in there. We could put words in there. We could put a word as well as an image. Like there's multiple things that you can actually do with this. So you think about it, okay, hey, maybe we do this match 'em up. It's 80s versus not 80s today. And then we're gonna write, we're gonna write a persuasive writing today in ELA class. So then that next task is gonna be based on what they did inside of the match 'em up, so that it sparked their curiosity, got them going, and it's going to help lead into the writing. Of course, as a teacher, you set that up, right? You've got the objective. Kids know what they're going to be doing today. You'll probably have a little more of a lead in. Maybe you'll show a video, just a multitude of things that you could be doing in your classroom, but just one way that you could actually use this match 'em up. Or you could use this match 'em up as review during class, right? So maybe when we break off a little bit later, certain students are going to go, they're going to need to come back and do a little bit of review work. If I'm using it in math, maybe it's going to be a graph and in the linear equation. If I'm in science, maybe it'd be a chemical bond and the types of chemical bonds and things that fall into the categories. Multiple ways that you can use this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to page ahead, all right? So hopefully everybody had a chance to play or kind of saw it on my screen. But I'm going to page ahead, and you'll see as I page ahead, you, the student, you're going to page ahead as well. Teacher, it says, hey, your teacher isn't running this activity right now. So it lets you, the student, know that, hey, they haven't started. For the teacher, it's like, hey, start this for the class. So this is a shout out. Think of this as a brainstorming tool. It's going to be two categories. The first category is going to be the benefits, and then the second category is going to be the challenges. So like, in your opinion, in your mind, what are the benefits and what are the challenges of game-based learning? So I'm going to start for the class, and you'll see it's going to pop up on the student screen. And on the student screen, it's letting us know that, hey, teacher started the activity, but it says enter your response here. And that has a drop down for the two different categories that you're actually going to respond to. Once you guys start responding, you're going to see over here on the teacher screen, all those responses. So look right here, some of the benefits already. We've got fun. A lot of fun, right? It's engaging. Kids are generally engaged. It's motivating sometimes, right? Increased engagement. And now you can see 92 of us in here, boom, we're starting to drop. So you have to remember there are 93 of us in here responding right now. In a normal classroom, you're going to have somewhere between 20 and 35 students, maybe less, depending on, maybe you've got a pull out class. So you'll be able to see what everybody's responding with. Maybe I want to go through and I'm just like, challenges right here. So here's a challenge. Notice how when I clicked on that, it got a little bit bigger. So it gives me the opportunity to talk to my students about this. Kids are distracted at home. So maybe I'm going to dig in on this, right? Maybe I'm going to actually if we're teaching in a remote learning atmosphere or even a hybrid, and that student happens to be at home, maybe I'm going to ask them to come off mute and we're going to have a conversation, right? Let's get into this conversation, deeper discussion, so that we're all having understanding, seeing each other's point of views. And a lot of times when we do that, when we allow the students to talk, it changes the way they think, or it actually opens up the door in terms of the direction within they're going to engage in the content for the day. So look at all these amazing responses. It's quite cool. There's thousands of them in here. So does the teacher know whether the child learned the material? Fun, engaging. Some may not want to quit. Isn't that true, right? I can page through. You'll see on the lower right here, I have the ability to take and look at each one of the responses. You'll see benefits is highlighted right now. So that's letting me know as I'm paging through, these are benefits. So if I were to close that and I were to come over here, now you'll see challenges is highlighted. Issues with connecting to the internet, right? That could definitely be an issue, connecting to the internet. It's one of the things that we have to be thinking about as we go into the fall, if it's going to be hybrid, if it's going to be fully remote. These are all the things that we want to think about. Screen size, exactly, depends on the device that they have. Competitive could get, I went back to benefits now. This is a competitive, or nope, now we're back in challenges. My screen's going back and forth on me. But it gives us all these different ways for us to do brainstorming. So think of this like if I'm teaching a lesson in Pythagorean's theorem or volume. Let's do volume a little bit easier. And I'm like, hey, we're about to put this baby octopus in an aquarium, and the water level is going to rise. How can we figure out what's the volume of the baby octopus, right? Now, all of a sudden, there's all kinds of questions. So I'm asking them, hey, what do we know? What are the known variables? What are the unknown variables, so that we can do all this stuff? And then we can get into doing exploration in math, and everybody can create their own problem versus me just giving them the problem. So many different ways that we can use a shout out. But I wanted to do this with you guys so that you could see what a shout out is, because it's one of the activities that you actually have access to when we go to create a little bit later in our time together today. Okay. So on the next page, so the right game for the right moment, thinking about that hybrid or even blended learning classroom. Maybe, 6 months from now, 7 months from now, a year from now, we're all back in the classroom together. There's going to be a time in a lesson, if we're doing maybe a centers-based rotation, where some of the learning is going to be synchronous, that direct instruction aspect, and then some of it's going to be asynchronous, where the students are kind of off and on their own. So we wanted to highlight, you'll see in here, we wanted to highlight there's a couple different, options that you have. You've got the asynchronous option on the left. So that's letting you know, hey, these are the lessons that it's not going to be direct instruction, whether in the hybrid model at home or whether in the in class, and we're doing centers based and I'm doing direct instruction with my students up here, my group of 5. We're going through, or maybe it's all digital and I'm just rotating. All my students are saying, because, there was a Jason in my class that going from one group to another group was a struggle, but because we have devices, now I can do it all digitally and I'm the one that rotates. Just depends on your setup. And then on the right-hand side, you'll see the synchronous, right? So these are the ones that we can, all the games on the left, we can do in synchronous, but you've got some additional games that you can actually play with the monster quiz, the team quiz. So there's multiple ways that you can set this classroom up, whether you're going to be hybrid, whether it's going to be synchronous, asynchronous, direct instruction, whatever your class scenario is going to be. So as we're going through, be thinking about that. Oh, hey, the majority of the games you'll see on the left here, circling them all right now, those are actually all going to be games that you have access to that you could give to the students the night before, maybe preemptively, kind of flipping your classroom a little bit, letting them do a little bit of exploration. They could do those the night before. And then when we come into class the next day, we're going to spend our time, because maybe you don't have as much time talking to them with that direct instruction because we're doing it remotely. Plus, the attention span is a little bit different when we're doing it remotely, right? Like we could get together and do a PD for 2-3 hours, but when we're doing it virtually, sometimes an hour and 15 minutes, an hour and a half, and just dialing in on content is more important. So it's going to be that same scenario for you guys when you go back to school. All right. So once again, another game that you guys can check out. So this is called a rank order. So you got the student page on the right, looks exactly the same as the teacher page on the left. So you'll see this one, simple order of operations. You could use this to do almost anything. But basically here, what we've done, if it's in a math class, it's, hey, solve the problem, come up with the answer, and then drag and drop and put the greatest to least answer as you're solving them. Maybe I'm going to use it, and it can be a correct answer, meaning, hey, there is a set of a way that this is the first answer, the second answer. You can put them in order and check. You could do real-time check for understanding too. So you'll see when I drag this over, it lets me know that 6 times the quantity, 3 times 2 minus 10 is not the second greatest, right? So then that way students get direct feedback. But sometimes it's really good to use this actually as a rank order in defense. So let's say I'm teaching a government class in the high school, right? So the class that I have here, you're talking the middle grades, upper lower grades. But what if we were doing this in high school? Maybe I won't use this background. I'll use a different background because you'll see you have a multitude of backgrounds. Some of them you can customize, but maybe I'm doing a lesson in government and it's about the Constitution, right? So I'm asking everybody, hey, what amendments are most important to you? So then I'll put them in most important to least important, or maybe I'll title it something else. But then they have the ability to rank them in the order that they have. And then what they'll do is maybe I'll ask them to take a screenshot or share their screen and then have a conversation about that, right? And sometimes I can take that same set of data and then put those kids in groups together, or put the kids that have complete different views, put them in a group together so that the conversation is much more rich and much more deep, because now they're defending why they think versus agreeing, right? So there's multiple ways that you can use these. You could do it with images. Maybe in the little grades, maybe I just use a picture. So maybe we're doing, trying to think of a good story, the lion story. I can't think of the name of it right now, but let's say that there's scenes in a story. So maybe I put pictures of the scenes, and then the kids would click on it. It'll get a little bit bigger because it's a picture, not text, right? And then they'll put those in order of how the scenes happen. But it gives you the ability to have your kids, either do it and get immediate feedback, or the ability to create an opinion and then rank and defend that opinion. So this is called a rank order, another one of the games that you have access to. And like I said, a couple more minutes down the road, we're actually going to take some time because I want to make sure that you guys can sign out as a student and then go in as a teacher so you can see this and you can begin doing this in your classroom. So next, we did a match them up. We did a rank order. Now we're going to do a super sort. Once again, you'll see if you were a student, you could have already hit start and got this one going. So you'll see this is when we're talking about the littles, right? So now what I've done is basically put a digraph on here. So we're sorting sounds, the SH sound, as well as the CH. If I were full screen, it'd look a little bit bigger, but I still wanted to show the student view how you'll see over here the teacher has the way to manipulate, whereas the student doesn't yet. So brush, right? So I drag and drop, and I get it right, and boom, so then it's going to shoot me mateys across the way. Cheese, let's say I drag it to the same SH, I get it wrong, and then it blows up in the face. So, a little bit of powder for me and my mateys. So this way the students, once again, they get that direct or the instant feedback so that they know. But sometimes we don't want them to just be dragging and dropping and dragging and dropping. So we actually want to create a task after that. So what's the task after that that we're going to create that is going to tie that together for us? That's the most important thing. Sometimes when we're using the games, we can definitely engage them with the games, right? Get the minds activated, get the hands on, get them going. And then that will lead into the next task, and it will help us actually perform the next task. And sometimes at a higher level because of the fact that they did that introductory. And sometimes it's just for review, right? So hopefully you guys all had a little bit of time here to actually play with the super sort. So I'm going to slide on to the next slide, which you will see here. There's another super sort. And this one's for maybe a little bit older. The last one was images. So now we're actually talking about definitions, right? Forlorn and elated, same thing. So if it's euphoric, is it a forlorn or is it elated? If I drag to forlorn, you'll see that, oh, got it wrong. So when I drag that to elated, it lets me know, instant feedback, yes, I got that one right? On cloud 9, that's elated. My sister called me a name. Am I elated when that happens? No, I'm not, right? So then I'm going to drag it over here. So once again, just another tool that you can use with your students, whether it's before the task or after the task as reinforcement. Totally and completely up to you, but it's ways to engage the kids, right? First of all, someone said it earlier, it becomes that game where they just want to get it done as quick as they can. So we don't always want that. That's why we want to make sure that we have the task afterwards or the task before so that they're just not dragging and dropping. But they do get a little bit more excited, especially now when you think about the remote aspect of it, when you only have that chunk of time that they're really, really going to be totally focused in on learning from you. And then you need that thing in between where, okay, it's kind of the mind break for them, but they're still learning before we get back together again. All right. So now I've gone on to page 10. So this is called the game show. So once again, I'm highlighting all the game possibilities that you have access to, and we are definitely going to give you the opportunity to sign out and sign in, and then ask questions and build some quizzes on your own. I'll build one or two with you so that you can see. But say the first day quiz here, right? It's the game show. So you'll see when I hit start, it's your turn to spin. So I spin. Now this would be me playing myself, or maybe when we're in school, we're sitting in groups, or we have teams virtually. We can take turns. So when you come into the classroom, you should, right? Basically right here, we're just going over like, what are the rules of the classroom? But of course, we probably have the kids build those rules with us. And then we play the game kind of as a reminder, make it a little fun versus just reviewing, what are our rules and procedures, processes and procedures, right, in class. Now we kind of gamify it. So it's a little bit more fun for them versus just constantly going over the game. You'll see if I get it wrong, it's incorrect. Let's give the next team a try. So then now you'll see the points went from 100 to 75. We know that letter A was wrong. When you come into the classroom, you should not sit on your desk, play on your phone, maybe give your teacher a high five. Awesome, because this is the teacher that when they come in, right, you're welcoming your students in, you're making them feel good in class. Hey, what's up, Jason? How are you doing? Jody, Julie, as they come in, as soon as you like what you exude to them, as like that's what they take on. If you're smiling, they're smiling. If they're upset, right away, what do? We go into teacher parent mode and we kind of try and dig in and find out what's going on so we can get them to smile. But this is a way for you to actually gamify going over your procedures in your classroom. I go to the next page, this one, same thing. So now instead of a game, but it's all about figurative language. So same exact, you spin. Sometimes they're going to get points. Sometimes they're going to get 2 times, but now you have ways to ask additional questions. So are there anything in the chat so far as we're going along, Jenny, that I need to talk about, some questions or anything specific?
Well, we've been going through and answering.
I am from Jersey. I know I'm from Ohio originally, but I talk like I'm from Jersey. I want to make sure I take that time out and slow down.
No, I mean, it looks like we've been able to answer a lot of the questions.
Is there audio for kindergarten? So depending on which game you're in, there are games that make sound right now, but in terms of reading it back to them, that's something where you would want to link. You're going to link between the game as well as whether it's your Google Doc or another page inside of the Smart Learning Suite online where you have sound coming. So there's no specific sound where, like, if I click on personification, it's going to read that to me. I'm thinking that that's how I'm answering your question, M. Varga. But like, think of, hey, if you have Google Read and Write, how you can highlight over a page, that will read. So there are ways around, using the tools that you have on top of. All right. So page 12, this is a game. Now, I'm just going to preface this with, we've got 103 people logged into the class right now. There's a couple hundred people in the actual session, almost 200, it looks like, upwards of 200. When it comes to a game is set for a classroom. So a classroom size isn't normally 103. So not all of us are going to get in this game, but I kind of want to show it real quick so you can see. That way, those of you that are experiencing it at home, you're going to be like, oh my goodness, okay, my kids are going to love this, right? How it's set up here is a monster quiz. So it's using the monsters, more of your K to 8. But then we've also got the identical game, which is the team quiz. That's more of the high school where we're talking about the teams. It's all about just using different colors and breaking up the teams, but still a tool that no matter what grade you're in, K to 12, students always love to play. So I'm just going to hit start for the class. And then you're going to see, remember, there's 102 of us, so we're not all going to get in. I apologize. Well, look, I got in. Woo! I got special treatment over here. So it lets me know 48 students, they're not able to join because the game is full. So it has limitations. So just so you know, but it won't have limitations for your classroom. So what I've got everybody in here. So I'm going to click divide into teams. And you'll see when I do that, it's only going to give me 9 because I've maxed out. Maybe I had 20 students in here would say, hey, do you want 2 teams? Do you want 4 teams? Do you want 5 teams? It'll give me options. But right now, because 54 is the max, teams of 6 is the max. So 54 divided by 6 gives me 9. So that's why I've got 9 teams. So I click 9. And you'll see it's automatically going to sort all of my teams out for me for all of my students, right? But let's say that I know, hey, PJ and Ann don't get along, or maybe they're just sitting in groups and I want to move them into their right groups. I have the ability to move students, and you'll see I can move them around into the different groups that they're in. Shows the group that I'm in over here from the student view. So it says waiting for the quiz to start. Lets me know that I'm on the Icebreakers team. Ebony, Jason, Rowena, Kathy, Linda, and Lindsay. I'm not going to answer the questions because then everyone's going to see the answers. So Icebreakers, we're the winners, but we're just going to take the L. We're going to take one for the team today because I don't want everyone to cheat. I do want to play this. So I'm going to hit start quiz, and you'll see it's going to count it down. And then there's a little bit of music. You'll hear it in the background. I just turn my music on. And then as people start to answer, right, if students get the correct answer, you'll see it gets the green check. But if they get it wrong, it just shakes. It doesn't tell on them, so that's a good thing. But look, we got the fire breathers. Oh, nope. See, the carton crushers just answered a bunch of questions. I would really love to answer these questions, but I can't. Icebreakers, I hope you're answering them anyways, everybody else. So we can see how we did outside of me. Here, actually, I'll just start getting some wrong. But you'll see as you guys start to get them, the eggs get bigger, the boxes get bigger, you start hatching, right? So what was max speed? Nice. And big, how old is Tom Hanks? What was the color? The Slimer. So, all right, so the challenge is on, everybody. The challenge is on. Who was the first video that played? I know that one. Video killed the radio star. I should know it. I made this, right? Which actor was not in the good? Who is it, Feldman or is it Haynes? Feldman or
Hey,
Haynes?
Jason?
Yes.
We have a good question here. How does this differ from Quizlet and Kahoot?
So Quizlet and Kahoot, it depends. Think of Quizlet and Kahoot when you're going out into another, when it comes to your lesson. Sorry, I'm going to mute the music. Quizlet and Kahoot, they're very similar games, powerful tools, right? At one time or another, I think I may have used them as well. A lot of my classmates, a lot of the schools that I work with, they use them too. What they are is you're linking out to play those games versus staying inside of your game. So think of, I've got a PowerPoint, I've got a Google Slides presentation, right? And right now, those are, whether you're using, PowerPoint Online, Office 365, or using Google Slides, they're great collaboration tools. I am Googlelicious, Google certified trainer, level 1, level 2, all that good stuff. So I love Google and I use Google all day. But the difference is when I'm teaching with Google, usually I'm using it as a delivery where students are sitting and getting. Whereas when I take that Google slide presentation, I put it inside of Smart Learning Suite Online, I can then add these games and stuff right inside of the actual lesson. So my students are being engaged and interactive inside of the lesson. I'm not having to go to multiple places. So that would be the difference right now, right? Like I'm not going to sit here and talk about all the different tools, who's good, who's great, who's not. It's not like that. We've all got awesome features. And the reality of it is, it just depends on, what are you looking to do at the end of the day, right? So this is going to be built right into their lesson. And then you're going to get some response. Today, as it stands, the information that comes from this, I'm going to end the quiz real quick just so you guys can see this. So I ended the quiz. We got a lot going on right there, right? It says your team finished from the student perspective over here. And then on the front, it tells us, hey, Carton Crunchers, they won. But watch, as soon as I click review, what it's going to do is it's going to bring up the team scoreboards for me. And then over here on my page as the individual student, you'll see that it's showing me which questions I got right, which questions I didn't answer, which questions I got wrong. It tells me, hey, you got 4 out of 10 correct on your first try. So it's giving me personal information in the event that maybe I want to personalize the next part of the lesson. Hey, listen, guys, if you got, 8 out of 10, you're going to skip ahead to page 11, right? Because maybe those students I want to challenge, right? If you ask 2 questions, 3 types of learners, the group that didn't get any right, so they need a video resource, they're going to need some more help from me. Then you got the group that got 1 right and 1 wrong. Maybe they just need a video. Maybe I don't need to be with them right away. And then you got the group that got 2 right. So now I'm telling them, hey, you're going to go on and you're going to do higher level learning, right? You're going to help create the next part of the lesson maybe. But it gives you the ability so students can see their scores. This data right now today doesn't come to you. But as important as analytics are, those are things that we're working on. We have Smart Response, which does give you the actual data, grades it for you and everything. But right now inside a Monster Quiz, this data doesn't come to you. You can't extract that data, but that is a feature that's coming to you in the future. So going back to the teacher board, you'll see it shows the scoreboard. Hey, this shows that Carton Crunchers came in first. Their finishing time gives the time, shows that they got 46% of the questions correct on the first try. Let's see if anyone, oh, look here. So fire breathers, they took a little bit more time, but they got 51%, right? So this is a great conversation in class. Like, did Carton Crunchers really win or did fire breathers win? If we were taking a test, would you rather be a Carton Cruncher or a fire breather, right? allows you to have conversations with your students. You can do an actual class review where you can go over each one of the questions. Once again, it shows you who answered what and what percent got it right on the first try. You can go over each one of those individual questions if you would like to. Okay, so this is called a monster quiz. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to page forward right now. Let me put my mute back on. I turn it off because of the music. How are we doing, Jenny? Did I miss a question?
There's a lot coming in, and Jennifer and I are trying to answer all of them.
Okay.
Actually a lot of questions about Google integration.
Okay.
And we've been kind of answering them, but any other thoughts you want to add to that?
Yeah, so actually what I'm going to do is on 2 slides here, I'm actually going to walk you guys through what that Google integration kind of looks like, because there's 2 entry points, right? Whether you're a Microsoft user or you are a Google user where you're using your Google Drive. So I'm going to kind of show you both those entry points as you actually take some time to build. So I think that will be perfect. So just wanted to show you, like we talk about, there's all kinds of different frameworks out there. And the one that's been constant and has been around forever is Bloom's. So I wanted you to know that, hey, when it comes to the games, right, that rank order that we did where we rank things in orders, there are multiple ways where you can do a remember and understand. Then you can group it into understand and apply. Then you can also do evaluate and create. It just depends on how you want to set it up, right? How are you setting that up? Is it like if the math problem, so maybe it's just numbers, the first level of math problem with the numbers. I'm just going to give them numbers 1 through 50 and they're going to rank them in order. And then all of a sudden the next level is I'm going to take and I'm going to make them solve a problem, an addition problem or just subtraction. And then the next level is now I'm going to have addition, subtraction, and multiplication and division. Then I'm going to do order of operations, right? So like there's ways for you to level each one of the games up as you go along. So I got to have some samples in here. Once again, at the end, you're going to get this file. So Jenny will be putting everything in the chat for you. So you'll get this file in the event that you want to go back, open it up and pull and be like, he said, remember, I could use Game Show or Monster Quiz to, in ways that I could use it. So you'll see we've provided several different ways, like a label reveal. That's one of the games you're going to see in a minute as you begin to explore. Super sort, how are we using this to analyze? Flip out, how are we using this to create? So we have it's flip out, but it's flashcards. But what you're going to see is, hey, maybe that's student choice, right? So I make flashcards of, hey, you need to accomplish, 3 tasks of the 10 tasks that I have listed here. And the tasks are, some are worth 5, some are worth 10, some are worth 15 points. You need to accumulate 25 points. So then the student has the choice. I can do these 3 tasks to get my 25 points, right? So there are ways that we can actually level this up, okay? So we'll go to the next page. So at this point, I've had this in teacher mode the entire time. Just by clicking here, I can go from teacher paste to student paste. And when I do that, student gets a message that they can page. But you'll also see now in the lower left, the students have the ability to page through. They don't have to be on the same page. So when I talked about that personalized, being able to go back and see a resource in the event that a teacher put a YouTube video in there, right? Or they have pages that are the anchor charts, whatever you have, you can give the students the freedom to do that. So I haven't done it because the purpose of this session is more about about the games, no trouble, right? So I kind of want to stick to that theme. But what I'm doing right now is actually showing you that Google integration aspect. Someone that asked that, as well as Microsoft. Doesn't matter what factory you're coming from in terms of platforms. This is going to work for everybody, right? So I'm going to go back into teacher pacing, so we're all on the same page. I'm going to hide my student page, and I'm going to highlight this page. So if you're using Office right now, in the upper left-hand corner, you're going to see the door to leave class. If you're using Google, you're going to see the 3 lines. So why don't you go ahead and click on whether it's the door. So I went to the home button, so it's taking you out of the lesson. I'm going to open it up again. You'll see if you were a student, kicked you out. But in the upper left-hand corner, if you're in Suite, you're going to click the door and you want to leave class. I'll go back to this page if you're still watching my screen, and you're going to leave class. If you're in Google, it's going to be the 3 lines and you're going to leave class there. Okay. So we want to make sure that we leave class because you signed in as a student, because now I actually want you guys to all sign in as a teacher using your own credentials, play around for a little bit here, and then that way we can move on. Okay. So if you're back, once you signed out, come back to my screen. So I'm sharing my screen again. So here's your 2 ways to get in, right? So you'll see I've got the Google integration up top. And then on the bottom, I've got, hey, if I'm using Smart if I'm just going to suite.smarttech.com on the bottom. So if that were the case, I would go here. I can type in suite.smarttech.com, or I can type in hellosmart.com, and it's just going to ask me, but you want to make sure you sign in as a teacher. So the page is going to look different depending on how you signed out. There will either be, are you a teacher up top, or sign in as a teacher on the right. You're just going to want to sign in as a teacher, and you're going to want to use your district credentials. Now, the Google Flow, right? So we've also got the Google Flow on here. So now we want to kind of talk about that, make sure too, because if I'm living in my Google Drive, I want to stay in my Google Drive, don't want to change teacher workflow. You'll see that, hey, I click plus, I go to more, and then Smart Learning Suite. In the event that your school hasn't enabled that yet, it's okay. You can just go to hellosmart.com, which I'll replicate or do in a moment here, and just sign in using your district credentials, because it's still free right now. So you'll be able to open it up until your district creates the actual app, pushes it out to you. The other way you can do is, let's say I've got a Google slide presentation already. All I got to do is right click on that, open with, and then I click Smart Learning Suite. And then what that's going to do is take me to edit mode. So I'm going to go back to my file. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm going to go here, and I'm just going to type in suite.smarttech.com or hellosmart.com, either one, right? So I'll do hello because that's the easiest. I go to hellosmart.com. I'm going to close the other. So right now you'll see I'm signed in as a student. So it's letting me know, hey, you're a student. So I'm going to scroll down, and here it says, are you a teacher? So anyone who's seeing the same screen, just scroll down and it'll say, are you a teacher? When I click on, are you a teacher? It's going to take me to that page to allow me to sign in. I'm already signed in a bunch of times, so my credentials just passed. So I come to my lesson library through Suite. Now remember, through Google Drive, I'm actually just going to be inside of my Google Drive. So like if I were to show you Smart Files, Smart Learning Suite, here they are. You'll see here's all my lesson files, same exact thing, but they're in my Google Drive versus being in Smart. So when I hit Add Activity, and hopefully you guys are playing around now too, you'll see this menu. This menu right here from Suite or Hello Smart is the same exact menu when I go back to Google, and whether I right click or I press New, Create and Share, I'm going to get that same exact menu in terms of being able to create and play around. So hopefully if you're a button pusher, you're already pushing buttons, but if not, you're on this screen. So what you want to do, let's click on game-based activities. You'll see that you got blank pages, YouTube, you got all kinds of things in there, but let's work on game-based activities right now. So if I click on game-based activities, you'll see all the different options that you have access to. You have a fill in the blank. So maybe you do a shout it out like we did earlier, and then the students create the fill in the blank from all the brainstorming that they did in the shout it out. Or maybe you just have a text set and you just want to copy that text set in there, right? You can create a fill in the blank. You'll see if you hover over, there's a little preview. You click the preview, it shows you each one of the games and what it looks like. So here is that, that sentence or whatever it is. I copied and pasted it in there. And then all I'm going to do is click on the words that I want to be the fill in the blanks, and they'll become my blanks. So it's pretty easy to build. Flip out, this is the flashcard. You can have words on the front and the back. You can have pictures and words on the front and back, completely and entirely up to you. Then label reveal, that's adding an image, and then all of a sudden opening it up and adding directions or tasks. So why don't you guys play around a little bit? While you're doing that, I'm going to build something. So if you're just watching, right, you're just interested in watching, I will actually build something for us. And then if not, press those buttons and start playing. Ask your questions while you're playing. So it's 10:55. So why don't we play for like 10 minutes till 11:05, and then we'll end with Q&A, 5-10 minutes of Q&A. Or you can ask your questions now, and Jenny can tell me while I'm here on screen, and I can just replicate that and show that. So play around a little bit. Let's explore. All right, so I will create a match 'em up. And let's say, so you'll see the two categories. So let's say 80s and then not 80s. I'm just going to replicate what I did today. And then you'll see I can either add text if I want to add text, or I can add an image by clicking on the picture button. So if I click on the picture button, it's going to take me, I don't want downloads, I want desktop images. And then, oh no, where are my 80s pictures? What did I do with my 80s pictures? Numbers, SH, But we're going to change up the way we're doing this. We're going to do the CH and the SH sound because I can't find my 80 pictures and I don't want to search too long. I want to be quick for you guys. So I go to my images and let's say, so we've got chick, right? That is a CH. And then if I go over here to SH and I look for a picture, so bookshelf, right? So that's going to be SH. I'm going to add that picture there. Go back and do another CH, beach. Awesome. Everybody wants to go to the beach right now. Well, at least I do. So I'm being selfish. Some more CH words. Let's see. Chair, chalk, right? We've got several different several different words that we can use. Let's add a couple more SHs. So not cheese, not peach, paintbrush, right? So we got a paintbrush in there, one more so that we have 3 of each. Fish, right? So we'll add a fish in there. So now you'll 3, see, I've got my 2 categories, the things that I'm going to be matching up. Oh my goodness, I totally messed this up. This is a matchup, not a super sort. I was setting this up like a super sort instead of a match them up. So it needed to be the 80s. It's things that match each other. So how can we do this? So let's go bookshelf, right? Bookshelf, and let's do, so chicken, fish, they'll both be animals. So we'll match them. What would I match to the beach in here? Let's see. Beach, couch, really let's do shell. So we'll match the shell and the beach together, and then we'll match the chair to, how I was setting that up was a super sort, and I shouldn't have done that. We'll match the chair to the bookshelf. So it's really not SH and CH. I really messed this one up, guys, but we're just going with it here. So I can do this instantly or when prompted when it comes to checking my answers, right? So I click next, and then I can choose which background. Do I want superheroes? Do I want that rock concert? Maybe I want the fish, right? Nice calming. This plays very calming music. So if you got Jason in your classroom, sometimes you want to play calming music to calm him down. Or I just want a simple background, right? Just plain background. Completely up to you. So let's just go plain background. Finish, and then you'll see it created that activity real quick. Once this comes up, you'll see that we can play. All right, so now I have that preview. I've got my preview right here, and then at the same time over here, I finish editing. I can put a title in here. So, this is going to be the CH, SH, match them up. And I just hit finish editing, and then you'll see it opens up. So now to get my students logged in, all I'm going to do is have them, like you guys did earlier, is go to hellosmart.com and type in my class code. And each one of you will have your own unique class code. So I'm coming over here to the chat to pull this over to see if there's any additional just checks. Looks like we got a bunch of questions, messages. Can you pull images from Google Images instead of from your computer? So Rose, so I'm thinking you're saying, can you drag and drop? I believe that feature is not active yet. So right now you'd want to download them into a folder so that you have them in your folder. So if I go back to hit the 3 buttons, I want to edit this lesson, right? So I'm going to edit. You'll see when I click new picture, it gives me the ability to get on my desktop right now. So what you're thinking is, hey, can I drag those pictures and drop those pictures in there? So I'm assuming that's what you're suggesting. But right now, it is that there are talks of features coming. So bunches of good things coming as well to make this even simpler for you.
Hey, Jason.
Yep.
A couple people are asking about creating their own backgrounds.
So in some of the, depending on which game you go into, so click plus, game-based, right? So when I go into Flip Out, you'll see once I'm done, some of them will have the ability to customize. So I'll just do one real quick, which is Super Sort, which I know does. So Super Sort, where are you? Okay. So maybe I'm going to sort things. This is what I was doing earlier, which was the right way of doing that versus the match them up. I wasn't thinking straight. So let's see, we'll do the CH, chair. We'll do cheese. Then when I go over to SH, bookshelf and brush. Where's the brush? Paintbrush, sorry. And then when I click next, you'll see that I have the ability to customize. Customize is coming in more of the games, but right now it only resides in a couple of them. And you only know when you go in and you click on customize. You'll see in the resources that we send out, I believe one of the links on the resources links and gives you a rubric of all the different games, things, ideas that you can do with the games, how many words you can put in terms of limits. Think of everything as Twitter, as tweeting, right? So if you are a tweeter, you know that, hey, I'm only using a certain amount of characters. So we want to think in terms of that stuff. But if I click customize, which was the initial question, so now I can take and I can change my background. I can put text in here, or I can add an image, drag or drop. So let's say my image here is going to be images. Let's say I'm going to use some monsters, right? So Bali, maybe she's going to be this category. So Bali's the CH category. I can come over here, same thing, do some images. Let's say it's going to be, there we go. So now you'll see I have the ability when I'm done to actually put images in here. And so instead of it being one of the pre-made, now it's going to be things where I can actually put images in here and kind of change and play with the background. So if we're selecting, fruits and vegetables, or we're using money, dollars and coins, you can put the dollar on one side, the coin on the other. If you're doing words on the bottom, they're going to match that. If we're doing graphs, so maybe we're doing something where with a positive slope or a negative slope, and then they're going to take the linear equations and drag and drop them. So they'll see a positive slope on one side and they'll see a negative slope on the other side. And then they have all the equations they're going to drag and drop. So there's multiple ways you can do that. I'm hoping that answered that specific question, Jenny.
Yep, that did. And one other question I'm seeing a couple times here is how this is integrated with Google Classroom.
Okay, so I'll show that real quick, right?
Okay.
Google Classroom right here. So as you're seeing, I've got all these lessons inside of my Google Drive. I go into Classroom, my Classroom, this is the process that you would do. It's no different than your normal workflow. So I've got all my classrooms. And let's say you see I have my assignments in here. There's a stream if you want to sometimes put your stuff in your stream. But maybe I want to create an assignment. So I go to classwork, I click create, I click assignment, and then I'm going to give that assignment a title. I'm going to write some instructions in here, what those instructions are going to be. And just as you normally would, click add, go to your Google Drive. Once you've created that game or that Smart Learning Suite Online entire file, because maybe you took a Google Slides presentation and you decided, hey, I just want to add a shout it out to that, or I want to add that rank order to that, just one piece of interactivity. And then you'll find it in here. So you'll see it's right here, the Smart Learning Suite Online file. See how it's that little, the little dot that we have, the bubbles, right? Smart Ink bubbles. So think of it, you see the different blue, purple, and greens. You'll see I've got my Google Docs all in here, my PDFs, my videos. But what I want is that Smart Learning Suite Online file. So let's say I'll just click this math file. I insert, so it's going to click in. Students can view file. It always stays students can view. So the difference is like when you're creating a Google Slides presentation, right? You've got to assign and create one for each of them. And here, everything's just going to be inside of one place. So if you do handouts, you do individual handouts, you do small group, whole group collaboration, which you'll learn later today if you've signed up for some of those sessions, because this one's all about the games. So it's just student view. Students click on it, and it opens right up for them. The first time they go in, of course, they've got to sign in using your unique ID code. So maybe that's going to be in the instructions. As far as everything over here, it's the same as always. What classes do I want to assign this to? Do I want just specific students or all students? Points, due dates, topics, all that good stuff. And then I just click assign, right? So from the student's perspective, they go into their classroom, into your class, click on the assignment, boop, it opens up, okay? So hopefully that answers the Google Classroom question. And then how about any other additional questions about the game? So like I talked about putting it inside of a Google slide presentation. So let me show you that real quick with that. Say you've got that Google slide presentation. So my drive, let me do, let's see, Fairfax. I know I did this recently. So here's a Google Slides presentation, right? I right click on that Google Slides presentation, open with, and I do Smart Learning Suite, right? So now it's opening up my Google Slides presentation that was more of a static lesson that I normally pass out to the kids. They sit and they kind of just consume it. And now I want to make it interactive. I want them to be able to interact in this lesson. And like I said, you're going to be able to learn all of these other pieces later today, but I'm just showing you the Google Slides and hey, I want to add one activity to this. So as soon as it loads on the left here, there's still a bunch of us in this session. So I would say between the internet of all of us being in here, my internet, which is a great thing, took a little bit of time. Normally doesn't take this long, but look, you'll see this setup. Here's my lesson, my Google Slides presentation, right? Everything that I had in there. I've still got that little blue button. I click, takes me to my home menu, and then I go game-based and I start adding. So I can add in whatever it is that I would like to add in, whether it's a quiz, match them up, a memory match, label reveal, game show, fill in the blanks, any one of those games that you want to use, you'll be able to add, and it'll drop it right in here. And say you want it to be the 5th page instead of the 2nd page, you're just going to move that page around, right? As you would any other file, whether you're in Google Slides, PowerPoint, no different, notebook, it's all the same exact things. Okay, so hopefully that answered that question. I hit finish editing, and there it is. Then when I go back to my drive, wherever this Fairfax County, Virginia file is, so let me show you, it's going to create that Smart Learning Suite right next to it. So there it is, right below it. So I had the initial Google Slides presentation, and right there it created that actual Smart Learning Suite Online file. So it's in that same workflow. Nothing's changed, no difference. Everything is exactly the same.
Hey, Jason.
Yep.
We've got a lot of questions about monitoring student progress or any, basically that sort of thing. Couple questions.
Yeah,
is there a way to get a report of students completing grades assignments and how they did? Monitoring student progress as a class and individually. A lot of questions on that subject.
So what you'll see when it comes to monitoring so I'll speak from the games perspective first, because that's what we're doing, right? Smart Response and Shout It Out, you're going to collect actual data right now that you, the teacher, have. You see, it stays with you forever. If you have students go in and do a game, it's going to be on their screen and they can take a screenshot of it. Analytics are coming because analytics are very, very important, because we want to know, like, hey, if I did a super sort, how many times did Johnny drag and drop back and forth? Was he just in there dragging and dropping, or was he in there with intention, right? So those type of analytics, that's information that's really, really important to me. So from a perspective of Smart's listening to the teacher, those are the things that we're building on the back end so that you have access to all that. But as far as collecting actual data right now, you have Smart Response, and then you have the Shout It Out. That's going to give you true data, right? You get data in the monster quiz and the students, but you get the whole team, and the students will get their individual. When you get into some of the later sessions today, you're going to see that students, when they turn their work in, they just click done, and then the teacher gets the notification. So there are ways that you will see this, and it's always in one place. So think of normally when I pass out my Google Slides presentation and I make a copy for everybody, I have to go into a folder and I have to open up 28 different files. Whereas I have that same Google Slides presentation, but I deliver it through Smart Learning Suite Online. All 28 responses or all 28 student content creation is going to be right in that one spot. I'm not going to have to go to 28 different files. So hopefully that answers your question. And like I said, I'm not trying to pull off, show you under the whole hood, because I don't want to ruin it for any of the other sessions today, right? Like in the event that they get to show you some of the wow stuff, I don't want to take their wow factors away from them.
All right, Jason, how do you provide comments?
So feedback, you'll see in these other sessions, you have the ability to chat back and forth with your kids via a text tool inside of. So you could also use your Google Classroom stream. If you're presenting in Google Meets, Microsoft Teams, Zoom, whatever you're presenting, and maybe you're going to use your chat feature. Once again, a feature that is definitely going to be something that, because we hear in the teachers that needs to be the feature it's just built right inside. But right now, how you're doing it with the school districts that I'm working with, we're talking about the video conferencing tool, and we're putting it inside of the video conferencing tool. So like the chat feature, Rosina, right now, you would be using the chat feature inside of Zoom. Desmos, Canvas integration from Keith. So there is Canvas integration. You'll see when you go inside of Canvas. Keith, we can put the link in the chat here. Give me a second and I will put that in the chat for you as well. Desmos integration, that's going to kick out, Keith. Whether you're using, GeoGebra, whether you're using Desmos, whatever tool that you're using, I used to use Desmos a lot. That's going to be a link that you'll put inside of your lesson. It links out to that page. They do the work, and then they come back in and put the final answers or screenshots, however you're asking them to for the students. Asynchronous feedback. Mary Louise, that's something students will go in, they'll click on, they'll go in, you'll be able to go in later. As long as a student signs into your class. So if I go back into my class and I look at the 31 people signed in here. So if you're looking at my screen, you'll see Colleen, Lisa, Mr. Membrino, Miss Garza, Miss Monahan. I think I know her. You'll see they all signed in using their credentials. So they're going to be able to go back to this lesson at a later date. But if you sign in as a guest, you're only able to interact with the lesson right now. So when you're having your students sign in, it is very, very, very important that you have them sign in using their district credentials. Okay. So I see we're coming tight on time, or no, we still have time, right? We're good. 10:15 to, yeah, we're coming up on the hour. All right. Has everybody been able to play a little bit? Does anyone have, some questions about, you went to build a quiz or a super sword or a match 'em up or a rank order, and you have a question about that? We're answering any questions here, just so you know, right? Because this is all about you guys. We want to make sure when you walk away with a little bit of excitement and those one or two things that you're like, okay, I remember that. I'm going to be able to use that, and I'm going to be able to use that well. And it makes sense in my classroom. Yes.
I had a question. When I created like a 5-question quiz for my students once, and what happened is for some reason my technology gave away and my internet was lost. So when they come back and they don't see, because they didn't hit the button done. So when they came back, they could not see that quiz again. So what was the glitch there?
So when you say quiz, did you mean the response? Use response?
Speed up 5-question quiz.
Oh, okay. So that's when that refreshes. If you go out and you come back in, that one's going to refresh. That would be why.
Oh, so I have to refresh it because they could not see anything. When I came back, they could not see the quiz. And if they could see it, they could not answer the questions again. Yeah,
they would have to start they would have to start over, because that's a game that's you're playing it kind of in real time one time, if that makes sense. And then you can reset and play it in real time one time again, but it's not something where it's going to save your data.
Okay.
Jason?
Yep.
I thought I heard at the very beginnings, either you or somebody else said there was a good procedure game for the beginning of school called the Game of Five. Did I miss?
So I talked about building procedures. You didn't miss that. I didn't call it the Game of Five.
I thought I heard that. Okay.
No, hang on one second, and I can open it up for you. But we are sharing this deck in the event that you just want to take mine.
Yeah.
And, move it a little bit.
I just didn't see it, so I didn't know what it was, but I wrote that down for something.
Yeah, so it wasn't the Game of Five. I didn't call it the Game of Five, sorry, but it was about procedures. So essentially, like, trying to make sure that making it a little bit more exciting when we're talking about going over procedures, right? Because sometimes that's very boring for the students. But in the event that I can make it a game and I can leave it in their classroom and they can go in and they can gamify it, it makes it a little bit more interesting for them to want to play.
Okay. So it wasn't the name of a game. You had just called it that.
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly. Yep.
Got
so
it.
I
Okay.
called it the first day quiz.
Okay. Okay. Which game?
This is on Game Show, using Game Show.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I just didn't see it, and I had written that down for something for the first week of school, and I just wanted.
Absolutely. So, like, I'll have Jenny put my email in the chat. There's a whole team of us, and we've all got different tools, and we send it to each other, and maybe someone already has that specific, game already built on a deck, and you send me the email and I'll answer the question, right? I'll ask the team, hey, does anyone have this? And because, we had it on our call today, it's all about being collaborative, right? Like, we were all former teachers and administrators. So, like, we know what it's like to, hey, I'll build unit 1, you build unit 2, and then we're going to come together on this, right? Divide and conquer.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
So I see that Jenny just put in the chat my email. So in the event that you have additional questions, please, we're here to answer, like that. You guys are our number one thing that we're worried about, because at the end of the day, it's all about the kids. And if you guys don't have the materials you need and the training that you need and the resources, then the kids don't get what they need. So, like, we're here, and we feel that with you guys. So we're here to support you in however we can. Students using the code to get access, are they all in the same file, or does it copy one? They're all in the same file, Mindy. So basically the students, they'll sign into your code, and whatever file you have open at the moment, they'll pop into that file. But at the same time, if you want, you could have created 3 lessons. So maybe you're going to personalize it, or you've got some that has, some additional resources for certain students that, have an IEP or whatnot and need specific things. Each kid can open different lessons at the same time. But if you're presenting in one live and you want them in your live, they're just going to click on your class code versus the actual lesson. So they'll all be in that same file at the same time. I think that answers your question. Is there a way to add more words of blank games instead of 8? Right now, Wilson, that 8 is that's the limit. Smart Tech Classroom. Yes, Canvas info. Someone mentioned Whack-A-Mole. Sorry, I'm trying to read through these chats real quick so I can see if I can answer some questions again. Is there a way to make a library so we do not need to email you for creative boards? So essentially, you're going to learn how to share all of these files as you go through today. You'll see that, like if I were on my home screen here, I've got 3 dots, share link, teachers and students, multiple ways to do that. But as the sessions that you go to today, they're all going to kind of build on each other, right? This was just the gaming chunk. But then what you're going to see in each of the sessions later that you go to, if you've signed up for more, and you still can sign up, there's still time, which Jenny will end up putting that information in the chat as well. So that way, you can kind of build on that, right? It's scaffolded for you. So like, hey, we learned this little chunk about games right now. And then, you know what? I actually want to take that and I want to take and put it in my Google Slides. I want to make a complete lesson. So you'll see there's a bunch of different offerings today where you can actually get that aspect of it so you can build on your lesson. Maybe you just want collaborative, something around collaborative. You'll see that there's some collaboration. Maybe you want independent. Like you'll see that there's all kinds of different sessions. I think it's 4 sessions, 4 different time periods today. There's like the 10:15, then there's one after that, and I'd have to look at the schedule. I think it's right here. So you'll see there is a 10:15, the one you're in right now. There's an 11:45, 4 sessions going on 11:45, 4 sessions at 2, and 4 sessions at 3:30. So lots to learn today, lots to see. Once again, we're all here for you in terms of resources and everything. So I know that we are using all of the same Zoom sessions so that we can kind of keep people somewhat, but you guys will have to log out and whatnot. Let me go back to my lesson real quick and we'll kind of tie this up for you guys, put a little wrap on the end here so that you have time in the event that you need to use the restroom. You'll see we have a challenge task. So if Jenny, if you could paste this link to this file in here, you'll see page 16 is a challenge task. So for you guys, when you're done in the event that later today, maybe tomorrow, the next day, you want to go back and revisit this, there is a challenge task in there, whether it's a rank order, super sort of match them up, right? Before creating the activity, have images readily available, giving you some directions, but just asking you, hey, let's do this. Let's try this. You'll also see that there is right here, the bit.ly/fast forward resources. If you want, you can take a picture of that with your phone right now. It'll take you right to that page. So it's going to be all the resources. Jenny's also going to paste that in the chat for you. If you could do that for me, Jenny. I'm bossing Jenny around. I'm sorry, Jenny. You can yell at me later. Awesome. So you can see Jenny's putting all kinds of resources in the chat for you. She's giving you the email, everything that you might need. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to turn it over. Here's the It's Not Too Late to Register for Other links. So that will be in there as well. What I want to turn it over to Jenny because I believe Jenny's got some good news so we can close this out on time. You guys have time to go to the bathroom in the event that you're attending another session. Our tech crew, we got an awesome tech crew who's taking care of this today because we've got upwards of 600-700 people in sessions right now. So we want to make sure that, we give them some time to set up the next session. So Jenny, if you want to close this out for us, that'd be greatly appreciated.
Sure. Thanks, Jason, for that awesome presentation. And so now we're actually going to name somebody who is won $25 to the new Smart eStore. And that person is going to be, drum roll, let's do, Karen Barwick. Karen, you won $25 to the Smart eStore. So I'm going to add the eStore link in the chat here in a minute, and we're going to be contacting Karen by email. We'll have the classroom care kits and monster masks available for purchase soon. Congratulations.
I won?
Karen, yeah, Karen Barwick.
Oh.
So you'll get an
no,
email.
not me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry, wrong Karen. Oops, sorry.
That's all right. Yeah. So Karen Barwick, you're going to get an email with information.
I'm not sure where you are, Karen, but I need the Price is Right running down the aisle.
I know. We need the video on for this. So we want to thank everyone for joining us today. We hope you had some fun and are feeling like a blended learning rock star. We're going to close now, so please check the link in your email and head to the new Zoom link for your next session. And that's about it. Thank you so much, everyone.
Jennifer?
Are you? Yeah, I'm Jenny, but yes. Is that
Jenny, I'm sorry. The sessions we don't attend because we're in another one, a lot of us had asked, will those videos be available also?
Jason, you know the answer to that? I'm not 100%
The answer is yes. Yep.
Okay.
We are
Yes,
recording
so-
all the videos, and then we're going to end up sending up as part
Okay.
of the follow-up.
So even if we're not registered for
Even
those?
if you're not registered, I believe that
All
they
right.
are putting every video in the link.
Okay.
And if not, I'm going to suggest it now. So thank you, Aubrey.
Okay.
And just so you guys know, if you need some additional training, please, I put in the chat training.smarttech.com, additional training, videos, courses. So if you want more information on everything that you just saw today, you're able to go in and take some free training. Thank you.
Thank you.